Welcome to Star Citizen, the Alpha 3.11 and the new tips video. Today we're looking at 14 different tips and a little discovery. There should be something for everyone, from the freighter captain to the fighter to the rock miner. And especially for all miners among you, there is a bigger update for the website SC Trade Tools, which we will take a closer look at as the tip. We start with the first tip, and there is something for everyone. If we want to get from A to B in the verse, we often need our quantum drive. We plan a route and usually have several jump points. However, we can also shorten the whole thing a little. That is, we jump straight to our goal and save ourselves a few intermediate steps. When we have planned the route, you start normally with the first jump, but you can stop it immediately. If you have a direct line of sight to your second or next destination in your list, you can also jump directly to it. And the direct jump saves a lot of time, as I don't have to spool again, let the drive cool down or align yourself. Of course, the whole thing also works for multiple targets or more distant targets. The second tip is about the changes to the distortion weapons. These non-lethal weapons, which do not cause any direct damage to the enemy ship, but are only there to disable the enemy systems and above all the shields, have been significantly strengthened with the Alpha 3.11 and are now really fun. Therefore, I recommend you work with some distortion weapons. No matter what size, you melt the protective shields of your opponents very quickly and can then switch them off relatively quickly. The next tip is also about the fight, and has to do with the new rocket gameplay. The rockets are nowhere near as strong or as accurate, which is why you shouldn't focus so much on rockets here. The countermeasures have also become very effective even with PvE opponents, so that you have difficulties here simply making damage with rockets. Tip number 4. Use NPC ships for your purposes. Especially with ECN alert missions, we have the opportunity to use the protected ships for our purposes after completion. This only works with ships that have an access door like the Starfarer, which we first have to open by shooting at it. When we get inside, we can turn off the pilot. And here's the next tip. With the key 0 you can use your fists and go into the fist fight. That goes not only against NPCs but also against players, and you don't use fatal violence here. However, if you want to steal a Starfarer or another ship and do it with non-fatal wars, see here that there is a restriction. And the ship cannot be moved. You can fire with it, but you cannot fly around. That's why we have to shut down the pilot when we take over an NPC ship, preferably with a weapon. If we have done that, however, we get a crime stat of 2, which is not that bad. Because the bounty on yourself is only suspended from a crime stat of 3. That means with a crime stat of 2 you will not be followed by other players, and you can use your new ship, for example our Starfarer here, for your purposes and missions. Especially ECN alerts or claim jumper missions are very easy with such a Starfarer, as we can see. Here we have a powerful punch and are supported by 3-man turrets that fire for you. This gives us the unique opportunity to use an NPC crew that fires at opponents. Ships taken over from NPCs are only possible during our current game session, so if the ship is destroyed or you have a game crash, the ship is gone again. And you cannot use these ships to trade as a freighter either. However, whoever wants to trade freight with so much combat power? The next tip is about Klescher. There was one small change, and that was the escape from Klescher. If you go into the direction of the mines, you have a small accommodation on the right side. And when you look through the window here, you have the passcode you need to stop the fan. And you should remember this passcode. We need this up here to be able to escape from Klescher. Up until now the fan turned slowly and we could just slip through it. However, the new fan is fast and deadly and we need the code here to stop the fan. However, there is currently one small restriction, namely a bug. We can enter the code, but then nothing else happens. This is known and should be fixed in the next version, and you can then use it to escape from Klescher as usual. The next tip also has to do with Klescher, namely the merit account. For example, we've already served our sentence so far but still have 9,950 merits. If we don't send him to a friend or another account like here, these merits will be gone as soon as we leave Klescher. Therefore, necessarily send the merits to another player or to a second account. You can also use these merits in the future, that is, should you come back to Klescher, you can send them back and either serve your sentence immediately or shorten it significantly. The next tip is to refuel without the gas station. We just turn off our engines on a planet or moon, but otherwise leave the ship on. Are the engines switched off and we let a little time pass, we collect fuel. If we activate the engines again, our fuel scoop has collected some fuel. For 1% of our Avenger, for example, we waited about a minute here. However, should you go on longer trips or be on the road with a team, you can fill up your ship completely. Here, for example, we did a little round and go out at fuel at 85%. After we had finished our lap and go back on the ship, reactivate the engines, this fuel gauge rose again to 89%. The amount of fuel is full again very quickly, especially for smaller ships. With an 890 jump, for example, we wait forever. The next tip has to do with rock mining. If you should mine stones with the rock, you have probably noticed that the wheels keep moving. That can be very disturbing or help you. Depending on what you prefer, we can also prevent that. For example, when we collect, this is sometimes an advantage if we move a little further, as in my opinion the laser can collect relatively well. So if you prefer to stand still, you can click on the button with engines off on the left and the rock will simply stop when it is dismantled. This is an advantage to bring the whole thing very focused on mining. But be careful, in a previous video I showed you how to tamper with the foreign rock and steal their stones. Should you have the engines off, you are relatively defenseless and have a little delay before you can react. The next tip, use suits. If you use your suits, the Handbrake, Novikov or the MacFlex, you can stow a relatively large amount of material in your suit. In one of the largest suits there is exactly 109 stones. Then you have used the cargo capacity. And of course you can also use multiple suits, fill and change different suits. However, this is relatively not necessary, because with the new item system you have the option to create boxes. And that's the next tip. Create these boxes, then you always have an empty rock. These boxes are stored in your ship and you can also sell them from there. For example, you don't have to turn around for a rich occurrence when your rock is full. You can dismantle the whole occurrence and take these stones with you again. However, I would recommend you to not overdo it, because it doesn't help you if you have 50 boxes in your ship and then the server crashes. You would have a lot of material in your ship, but you could not sell it. If you want to sell these boxes from the ship, your ship will be shown as empty. If you select it, however, the material will also be displayed and you can sell as normal. And the next tip, how do I put a rock on it that has fallen over or overturned? You just sit in the rock, start the engine and try to move as much as possible. If you then left click on the power off button while moving, your rock will stand up again. The next tip, SC Trade Tools has one more update, namely mining, commodities and shops have been added. And if you go mining, you can choose which area you are looking for. For example, we are only looking for hedanite for the rock, and if we confirm the whole thing here, we will be shown the best spots for it. We are shown all areas where hedanite is and in what quantity and in what size. So you can choose the best planet or moon that contains the material you need for you. The price lists are also stored and the whole thing is really well designed. And since the whole thing not only applies to the rock but also to the prospector and argomole, we can also search specifically for quantanium, for example. And here we can also see where the best are and the greatest opportunities to find quantanium. The data is extracted directly from the game, which means that the whole thing is not an empirical value of players, but directly from the game itself. That definitely simplifies the search for the materials we want. The new commodity tab tells us everything about a certain material, where the actual purchase price is and where the maximum sale price is and where we can buy which material. Under shop we really find every station that is bought or sold there. The prices, the standard prices that are normally called up here, are also stored. And so we can really perfectly build our own trade routes that are tailored to us. The last tip: if you have a bug in the game, it is always a good alternative to go under the character customization first. Here it is enough if you change something small. This will reload your character in the game, so to speak. When you come back into the game, there is often the possibility that the bug has been fixed. And finally, not a tip but a little discovery. That was fresh after the start of 3.11 on the live server. I was able to call up a Constellation Taurus and already loaded it with material, only the claim was still missing. I hope you enjoyed the video and you leave me a like and a subscribe there. I hope the tips were something for you, or you could use one of the other tips for your purposes. You should have Heinz tips or other possibilities to make the game easier for you and others. If it, come to our Discord or write it in the comments, then I will definitely be happy to include it. I would also like to announce a PvP event for October 31, when we will have a coordinated PvP fight towards evening for the Van Duel helmet. And I think it would also be interesting to look at. If you are interested, contact us over the Discord. There you will get all the information when and where the whole thing starts and what you have to do for it. And this event, smaller prizes will also be raffled, which means that not only the winner gets something, but you all have the chance to win something. And because we're on the subject, there is currently a giveaway running. Until the end of November, there is a Taverine War uniform in white and a complete PC game. Cyberpunk 2077 for the PC from GOG. To participate, it is sufficient to be a currently visible subscriber of the channel, and you must have left at least one comment. And if you are looking for a ship or item that is not currently available in the PledgeStore, or you want a better price, then stop by Star Hangar. There you can get almost everything at a good price and very safely. And of course I can only recommend GameGlass. It offers you real added value, as you can control all functions from your mobile phone or tablet. And there is also a big update. More on that in the next few days. I say goodbye and say as always, see you in the verse.